The pyramids, particularly the Great Pyramids of Giza, are some of the most amazing man-made monuments in the history of the planet. They were constructed at a period when Egypt was one of the wealthiest and most powerful civilizations in the world. In today's video, we'll have a look at everything you need to know about the pyramids of Egypt. If you find this video informative, like it and subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos. The extraordinary significance of the pharaoh, or monarch, in ancient Egyptian civilization is reflected in the colossal size of these structures. Pyramids were constructed all the way from the start of the Old Kingdom until the end of the Ptolemaic era in the 4th century AD. Although the golden age of pyramid construction did not begin until the late 3rd dynasty and did not end until somewhere around the 6th century, c. 2325 BC. Even after more than 4,000 years, the Egyptian pyramids have preserved a significant amount of their magnificence, giving visitors a look into the prosperous and illustrious history of the nation. Pharaoh's role in ancient Egyptian society. In the 3rd and 4th dynasties of the Old Kingdom, Egypt was at the height of its economic and political might, and it was also at its most stable. The kings of Egypt had a special place in Egyptian civilization. It was thought that these beings, who existed on a level between human and divine, had been chosen by the gods themselves to act as their representatives and intermediaries on earth. As a result of this, it was in the best interest of all parties involved to maintain the king's grandeur even after his death, when it was thought that he had become Osiris, god of the underworld. Horus, the deity of falcons and defender of Ra, the sun god, was transformed into the new pharaoh, who in turn became Horus. Have you been informed? The smooth, angled sides of the pyramid were meant to represent the rays of the sun. They were constructed with the intention of assisting the king's soul in ascending to heaven and joining the gods, notably the sun deity Ra. The ancient Egyptians had the belief that once a monarch passed away, a portion of his spirit, which they referred to as Ka, remained with his body. His body was mummified so that his soul could be properly cared for, and everything the king would want in the hereafter was buried with him, including gold utensils, food, furniture, and other gifts. This was done so that his spirit could be properly cared for. The pyramids came to be the focal point of a cult of the deceased monarch that was meant to endure for a significant amount of time after the ruler had passed away. Their wealth would provide not just for him but also for the relatives, authorities, and priests who were buried close by. This would ensure that everyone would be taken care of. The first pyramids in Giza. Royal graves were cut into rock during the beginning of the Dynastic Era, 2950 BC. And they were covered with rectangular constructions with flat roofs that were known as mastabas. These structures were the forerunners of the pyramids. Around 2630 BC, King Djoser of the 3rd dynasty commissioned the construction of the earliest pyramid in Egypt, which is located near Saqqara. It was originally a typical mastaba, but it eventually expanded into something far more grandiose and is today known as the Step Pyramid. According to legend, Imhotep, a priest and healer who lived around 400 years before he was canonized as the patron saint of scribes and doctors, was the one responsible for designing the pyramid. During the roughly 20 years that Djoser ruled Egypt, pyramid builders erected 6-step tiers of stone, as opposed to mud, brick, as was the case with most previous tombs, that finally reached a height of 204 feet, 62 meters. It was the highest edifice that existed during that period. The step pyramid was encircled with a complex consisting of courtyards, temples, and shrines where Djoser might spend his eternity and have a good time. Following the reign of Djoser, the stepped pyramid became the standard for royal funerals. Yet, none of the pyramids planned by his dynastic successors were ever built, probably due to their relatively short reigns. The Red Pyramid at Dashur was one of 3 burial buildings erected for the first king of the 4th dynasty, Sneferu. It was the oldest tomb constructed as a true, smooth-sided, non-stepped pyramid. The other 2 constructions were the Step Pyramid and the Bent Pyramid, 2613, 2589 BC. The hue of the limestone stones that were utilized to create the core of the pyramid inspired the naming of this feature. The 3 enormous pyramids located in Giza. The Great Pyramids of Giza, which are situated on a plateau on the west bank of the Nile River on the outskirts of modern-day Cairo, are often considered to be the most famous pyramids in the world. The Great Pyramid at Giza is the only one of the so-called 7 wonders of the ancient world that is still standing. It is also the oldest and biggest of the 3 pyramids that can be found at this location. Pharaoh Khufu, also known as Cheops in Greek, was Sneferu's successor and the second of the 8 monarchs who ruled Egypt during the 4th dynasty. He commissioned the construction of this structure. In spite of the fact that Khufu ruled for 23 years, 2589–2566 BC, only a limited amount of information about his reign is available, save from the splendor of his pyramid. Its sides measure an average of 755.75 feet, 230 meters, and its original height was 481.4 feet, 147 meters, making it the biggest pyramid that has ever been discovered anywhere in the globe. A tomb was discovered in the vicinity of the Great Pyramid that contained the empty coffin of Khufu's mother, Queen Hetepheres. These 3 smaller pyramids were erected for Khufu's queens and are lined up adjacent to the Great Pyramid. Similar to the other pyramids, Khufu's pyramid is encircled by rows of mastabas, which served as burial chambers for the king's family members and officials who would follow and assist him in the afterlife. Pharaoh Khafre, son of Khufu, had the middle pyramid at Giza constructed in his honor, 2558–2532 BC. The tomb of Pharaoh Khafre may be found within the Pyramid of Khafre, which is the 2nd tallest pyramid on the Giza Plateau. The Great Sphinx, a limestone figure with the head of a human and the body of a lion, was a one-of-a-kind architectural element that was included into Khafre's pyramid complex during its construction. It was 240 feet in length and 66 feet in height, making it the tallest statue ever erected in the ancient world. During the 18th dynasty, which occurred about 1500 BC, the Great Sphinx became an object of devotion in its own right, serving as a representation of a regional manifestation of the deity Horus. Menkaure, the son of Khafre, had the pyramid at Giza's southernmost point constructed for him, 2532–2503 BC. It stands at a height of 218 feet and is the shortest of the 3 pyramids. This pyramid is considered to be a predecessor to the lesser pyramids that were built during the 5th and 6th dynasties. Who was the architect of the pyramids? Skeletons unearthed in the region indicate that the workers were probably native Egyptian agricultural laborers who worked on the pyramids during the time of year when the Nile River flooded much of the land nearby. Although some popular versions of history held that the pyramids were built by slaves or foreigners forced into labor, these skeletons show that the workers were probably native Egyptian agricultural laborers. In order to construct the Great Pyramid of Khufu, around 2.3 million stone blocks weighing an average of approximately 2.5 tons each needed to be cut, transported, and erected. Herodotus, an ancient Greek historian, stated that it took 20 years to construct and needed the labor of 100,000 men. However, subsequent archaeological evidence reveals that the workforce may have really been closer to 20,000 people. The final chapter of the Pyramid Age. The building of pyramids continued throughout the 5th and 6th dynasties, despite the fact that throughout this time period, both the overall quality and magnitude of the pyramid's construction and the power and riches of the monarchs themselves fell. In the later Old Kingdom pyramids, beginning with the Pyramid of King Unas, 2375–2345 BC, pyramid builders began to inscribe written accounts of events that occurred during the reign of the king on the walls of the burial chamber and the rest of the interior of the pyramid. These accounts were located throughout the pyramid. The oldest major religious writings known to have originated in ancient Egypt are these manuscripts, which are known as the Pyramid Texts. Pepe II, 2278–2184 BC. The second king of the 6th dynasty, who came to power as a young child and reigned for 94 years, was the last of the Great Pyramid builders. He built the pyramid between the years 2278 and 2184 BC. By the time he came to power, the wealth of the Old Kingdom had begun to decline, and the pharaoh had already begun to lose part of the quasi-divine prestige that had been accorded to him as the influence of non-royal administrative officials increased. Pepe II's pyramid, which was constructed in Saqqara and finished some 30 years into his reign, was much smaller than the other pyramids of the Old Kingdom at 172 feet in height. After Pepi's death, the monarchy and the powerful central administration almost completely fell apart, and Egypt entered a chaotic time that is known as the First Intermediate Period. Pyramid construction would be resumed by other monarchs of the 12th dynasty during the so-called Middle Kingdom era, although the resulting structures were never on the same size as the Great Pyramids. The pyramids as they stand today. Both in ancient times and more recently, grave robbers and other types of criminals have pillaged the exteriors of Egypt's pyramids and taken the majority of the corpses and funeral items that were kept inside of them. The Great Pyramids have had the majority of their smooth, white limestone covers removed, which has caused them to fall short of their original heights. Khufu's pyramid, for example, is only 451 feet in height. Despite this, millions of people continue to travel to Egypt every year to see the pyramids. They are attracted there by the majestic height of the pyramids as well as the continuing appeal of Egypt's long and illustrious history. Was this information useful to you? Tell us in the comments and don't forget to click on the subscribe button if you haven't done yet. See you in the next video.